Good evening, everybody. It's now 5:30. We're going to call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order November 6, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. We'll start off the meeting with public comments. Do we have any public comments? I don't see any. Okay, next thing, we've got approval of the minutes for our September. Everybody should have a copy of these minutes. You want to take a look at that for just a minute, and I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Alderwoman Swanson, a second.
Second.
Second by Alderman O'Brien. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the minutes are approved. We'll let our signage, well, let's do a roll call for attendees. Alderman Jones, Alderwoman Swanson,
Here.
Alderman Prude, Alderman O'Brien,
Here.
Alderman Tavares,
Here.
Alderman Cobbs, and Alderman Osinga is here. Okay, last month we did not have a quorum. We do have enough for a quorum. We just have 4 of us. So what I would like to do is go over the bills from last month. We'll start with the bills for September for the police department, and take a look at those and see if anybody's got any questions on the bills for last month. We looked at them last month, but we didn't approve them because we didn't have a quorum.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Alderwoman Swanson. Okay, the bills total for last month, $218,637.50. We'll do a roll call. Alderman Swanson?
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien?
Aye.
Alderman Tavares?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, the bills for September are approved. Let's move on to the bills for for September for the fire department. And I believe those bills total $108,943.62.
I move we approve the bills as presented for September for the fire department.
Motion by Alderman O'Brien, second. I have a second on the bills?
Second.
I'm sorry if you said that, I missed it, sorry.
That's okay.
Anybody have any questions about these bills? Okay, we'll do a roll call. Alderman Swanson?
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien?
Aye.
Alderman Tavares?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, the bills are approved. Moving right along here. I will look at the activity. We'll start with the police department
Okay.
for October. Chief Kidwell, you're up.
Okay. So we're currently budgeted for 67 officers. We're currently at 65 officers. I have 2 in the academy that are slated to graduate in December. We recently completed our hiring test, and all the scores and everything are in. We ended up with 16 candidates, and we're already doing backgrounds on those so we can hire 3 for the upcoming academy that starts in January. I anticipate 1 sergeant retiring in January also, so it's pretty fluid right now. I lost 1 to the sheriff's department. I lost 1 officer to Matson, and so that brought me down to we had hired an extra 1 because we knew we were going to be down in January, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. So
Okay.
it's pretty fluid. We're moving fast. We've got 3 slots for January, 3 slots for May, and 3 slots for December, so hopefully I can maintain our personnel. For the month of October, we recovered 14 firearms. The city police did. KMEG didn't recover any for the month of October. However, we have, even this month already, we've recovered several firearms, so the officers are very active in recovering firearms. The Verkada cameras, we have 175 Verkada cameras deployed right now. We're still hoping to get the LPR grant. I know I've talked to the mayor. I know that's in this, that's coming. I just don't know exactly when. And we still have the Flock cameras, the license plate reader cameras that we lease from Flock. And our training update, all officers are currently in compliance. Yes, sir.
Chief, a quick comment. I was listening to news this afternoon, and there was a shooting in Chicago, and they were able to apprehend the guy because they have Flock cameras up there, and they got a license plate. It was a drive-by shooting, guy standing at a gas station, shoots a guy twice and drives off. They didn't have those Flock cameras, probably wouldn't have got him.
No, they're, like I said, they're very helpful to us. I mean, even our Verkada cameras, some of our Verkada cameras have the LPR abilities too, so, we use them, other agencies in the county use our cameras too. We've given them access, so it is definitely a force multiplier for us. And as far as our training update, all of our officers are in compliance with our Let's Be Illinois Law Enforcement Training Standard Board. That's all I have for the department update.
Okay, anybody got any questions for Chief Kidwell? Okay, moving on.
Overtime for September through October was $15,124.94, which is down a couple $1,000s from last year, that same time period. Moving on to the bills, if there's no questions on the overtime. The bigger expenses we had for October were the Taser cartridges, and that was a contract we had signed last October. We had to spend like $130,000 on Taser weapons. The ones that we had were antiquated and outdated. We couldn't get parts for them no more. So we had to purchase, I think we purchased 20 of them. Right now we pay $29,022.22 for the next 4 years till 2027, and that will cover the contract. Another larger expense we had was our CANCOM dispatch expense was $60,514.06. That's for CANCOM. The GTAC Cloud for body cams, that was one of the ARPA requests I had in the $275,000. We wanted to cover that for the next, I believe, 3 years. So that we're going to try to include that in the ARPA request that was allotted to us. And then you'll see that Netherton's Body Shop, $23,988.98. That was for the car that got struck at Nelson in Court when we were directing traffic. There was no one in it, fortunately, but some drunk driver crashed into our squad car while we were out directing traffic. So we actually were very fortunate that the officer wasn't in the car or that he didn't get struck outside the car. They were there directing traffic, and a drunk driver smashed into the car.
And we're getting reimbursed for some of that.
Yeah, we'll get reimbursed for that. That's insurance claim.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
But other than that, no other significant expenses. Our total amount was $152,485.57.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the bills for Chief Kidwell?
Very minor question,
Yes, sir.
Chairman. Just curious, what happened to the cell phone? We had to pay, did he replace it? How you repair a cell phone nowadays? I'm just
What
curious.
were you looking at?
I'm looking at Avery Ivory reimbursement for cell, $292, very minor.
You know what that was? We had, I believe it was a triple homicide that we had. We had those phones repaired that we found at the, so, like one of them had a couple of them had bullet holes through them, so we sent them off and they repaired like the battery in them so that we could try to extract information out of them. So we're still working on that homicide, but that's what we did. We sent them off to try to get the phones fixed so that we could extract information out of them.
Oh, fantastic, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are there any other questions about the bills? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills amounting to $152,485.57.
So moved, Chairman.
Who's that? Okay, sorry. Second. You're a second. Okay, Alderman Jones?
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien?
Aye.
Alderman Navarez?
Aye.
Alderman Cobb?
Aye.
Okay, bills are approved. Thank you, guys. Moving forward, monthly stats.
Okay, for the month of October, we responded to 4,876 calls for service. We made, we had 276 cases. We had 109 adult arrests, 2 juvenile arrests, 474 traffic stops, 587 citations were issued. We conducted 58 foot patrols. We recovered 14 firearms. We responded to 87 accidents. We did have the one homicide that was at 1100 East Court at Cole Apartments. We did arrest that guy later that day, about 12 hours after the homicide. We had him in custody. We picked him up in Bourbonnais, so he's incarcerated. Actually, we have 2 people in custody on that homicide. So, but the cameras again helped us on that. Our personal cameras, our Verkada cameras, helped us track down the vehicle and ultimately led us to Bourbonnais, where we ended up apprehending the suspects. And we had shots fired calls, 25. When you look at that, when you get down into the numbers, we had 9 shots. If you go down to the graph below, you'll see we're in the red box, we had 9 and 16. That's where you get the 25. 16 weapons calls, 9 shots fired, which is pretty impressive too, really, to only have 9 shots fired calls for the month of October. Moving on to mental health, obviously that's a concern. We had 85 mental health calls for this month, and I mean, sometimes it's classification, but you know, that's how they're classified and we respond to them, so that is a lot of mental health calls. Domestic related calls, 217. 140 of them were actually domestic calls. I believe 21 were battery. 40, it looks like 49, I can't, it's kind of hard to read, were disturbances, and looks like 7 custody disputes. So it's still a lot of calls, 217. And then death investigations, we had 3 death investigations, 1 overdose. Nothing suspicious about them, but they are death investigations, so we treat them, you know, we usually wait for the coroner to make sure that, you know, there wasn't an overdose or something else, but nothing suspicious that we could see.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about these statistics? Okay, move forward, Chief.
Okay. Calls for service, as you can look at them, take, you know, K10, K11, they're pretty close. I mean, very, very close to having the same amount of calls for service. K21, our largest beat, it obviously is our retail hub out there by Walmart and stuff. That's why we have so many calls for service out there. And they're pretty much trending the way they have in the past year as far as beats. So if you have any questions on that.
Okay, 11, isn't it? 6 Ward?
K11's right down, it's from Greenwood to East Avenue, all the way north and south, all the way north up to Fair Street, and all the way south to the river.
Oh, that ain't me. I must be K21 then.
You are K10.
K10? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
K21 incorporates the west side and the south side.
Okay.
3rd and 4th were, that's why we're so busy over there. Right, Chief?
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Any questions? Okay, move forward.
Next, you'll see the pop unit stats for the month of October. They've been busy. I mean, they've taken quite a few firearms off the street. I mean, even last night, they got a lot of, or the night before, they had a lot of drugs, a lot of, they got a couple more weapons, and I believe the last week they got an AR-15 out of a car and a handgun. So they have been busy, they have been productive. But there's their stats for the month of October.
Okay. Citations and tows.
Yeah, they had a total of 40 arrests, or total arrests for the pop unit 40, total case reports 10. Any questions on the pop unit? If no questions, I'll move on to monthly citations issued and administrative tows. As you can see, ticket count was 587. If you look on the far left column, it is what the ticket's for as far as city ordinance, courtesy notice, non-traffic, or other. Next section is citation type. That's moving violations or traffic citations. And then that was 415 for the month, and administrative tows were 12 for the month.
Any questions?
Just a question, Chief. Towing,
Towing?
DUI 13s, does anybody that gets arrested for DUI get their car towed?
Excuse me?
Anybody gets arrested for DUI, do they get their car towed?
Most often, unless there's a valid driver in the car and, the officer wanted to let the other person take the car that wasn't intoxicated, that would be their discretion.
Thank you.
I'll move on to NIBR's Group A crimes. Obviously, in the 7th Ward, we had the homicide, so you'll see that. That's a flag to me. You'll see 2 kidnappings. Those really aren't kidnappings, but when we report them into NIBR's, they come back as kidnappings. They're actually domestic related and they're unlawful restraints, but when we report them to NIBR's, they are classified as kidnapping. I just want to bring that to your attention because, when you see kidnapping in the 1st and 2nd Ward, it doesn't look good if you don't know what the numbers are actually for.
Chief, that homicide is in 1.
1. Yes, he probably hasn't, it's in the computer, but I know what you're saying, yeah, if it's in, it was 1170 East
Scratch
Court
on
Street.
that.
I'll let you have that one.
Oh,
I got enough.
Chief? Somebody reached out to me the other day, I don't see it on here anywhere, but said we had a home invasion in West Kankakee, somewhere by Curtis and Hawkins. You know anything about that?
Yeah, I remember, there was something happened, I don't know if it was a home invasion or if, it may have been initially came out as a home invasion, but I have to look it up.
Okay.
I don't know if it was actually a home invasion or if it was a burglary.
Well, people get nervous.
Sometimes it's the way a call comes in one way and then we get there, it's like a robbery can be a theft at times when it initially comes out because somebody says, I've been robbed, but in reality, something was stolen out of their garage, but to the layperson, they got robbed. So I can check on it.
Okay, thank you.
And then the next page, you'll see the NIBR's Group B crimes, and feel free to take a look at that. And then we go into the Part 1 index crimes by ward block.
Anybody have any questions about the stuff going on in your wards?
On Halloween, I know, there was obviously concern. We had, 2 juveniles shot. It was isolated. It wasn't like 2 trick-or-treaters that were just out there. We had seen those kids earlier in the night at a house on Bourbonis that we're very familiar with. And obviously somebody confronted them in a vehicle and shot at them. I know the alderman came in and we spoke with the mayor. I've talked to the landlord. I know DC called him yesterday, and we're in the process of getting him evicted. He does do month-to-month leases, so we're hoping to have him out of there in 30 days. But it's obviously been a problem house for us for some time. But there's some domestic issues there that have kind of delayed us from pursuing it real hard, but at this point, we know they need to move along, so that's where we're at. And the children are okay, one was 16, the other one was 14. Fortunately, one got hit in the shin and the other one in the pinky, so it wasn't, life-threatening, but still, it could have been very, very bad because there was a lot of kids in the street. So,
I know they traumatized my grandchildren. They were
Yeah.
right in front of them when that happened.
and, we didn't get much cooperation either out of the victims. They didn't want to help us, which is not uncommon if they know, if they're in that type of activity, so.
Exactly.
But,
I want to touch on one thing. In our ward, over in the 1500 block of West Merchant, we had some undesirables living there, and I wasn't aware of them, but one of the neighbors saw me and told me about it. So I reached out to Deputy Chief Austin, and he ran what they call a CAD report, computer-aided dispatch. And certain crimes fit the chronic nuisance, which these did, the stuff that was, they had shots fired and a couple other things. So long story short, Deputy Chief Austin and Chief Kidwell had reached out to the landlord and said, you got a chronic nuisance here, we want them gone. And if they're not gone yet, they're going to be gone probably by the end of this month. There are 2 hooligans out of Chicago area. So, and it works. If you guys, follow up and do it, it works. So thank you for that, Chief.
thank you.
Anybody have any questions about what's going on in your wards?
Whoa.
Okay, somebody have any questions for Chief Kidwell before we move on? Okay, thank you, Chief. Chief LaRoche, you're up.
Thank you, Alderman. Start with our staffing for the month of October. We were budgeted for 51 personnel. At the time, we had 49. We had 41 that were assigned to shift. We had 1 fire inspector in the prevention office, 1 in the training office. We had 1 community risk reduction officer. We had 4 personnel either injured or off for other reasons, and then so we had 45 active personnel for the month of October. We do have 4 part-time interns, 3, 2 of which are assigned to, they're actually going to Fire Academy in Romeoville, and we have 1 of them attending paramedic class. And we still have a couple people that are off. We had 1 on administrative leave, and at the time 3 injured. Do you have any questions about our staffing? Okay, page 7 just kind of gives an outline of a graph of where we've been for the last year. Move on to bills, page 8 through 11. The only thing that really stands out on page 8 is just our normal copier bill. It's $408. Page 9, our fuel bill from DPW is $4,746. At the bottom of the page, our Kankakee bill was $32,584.50. Bottom page, we had spring work on one of our engines. It was $3,736.12. Page 10, top of the page, we had some work done to fire station number 3. We had some tuck pointing done. It was $1,550. We are doing some work to station 3 and a few other stations, trying to get them prepared for winter. So you're going to see a few bills roll in for maintenance work that needs to be done. We had gear purchased for one of our new firefighters. It's $3,671. We had repair done to an ambulance from a vehicle accident that was in, which was covered by insurance, which was $8,858.70. The bottom page, we had one of our software programs that we have a subscription for was $1,162.81. The last page there, page 11, Really, there's nothing that stands out. Total bills for the month of October was $65,385.72.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the bills? The fire department? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve those bills.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Swanson, second by Alderman O'Brien. We'll do a roll call.
Actually, that was Alderman Jones made that
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry. That's what happens when you're deaf. And I am. Okay. Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Navarez.
Aye.
Alderman Cobb's.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, the bills are approved. Thank you, Chief. Moving forward.
Okay, we'll move on to overtime, page 12 through 15. For the month of October, we had 412 hours and 412 and a quarter hours assigned, costing $20,045.21. It is slightly down from September of this year. We are going to maintain roughly about the same for the rest of the year while we have personnel that are off injured and short personnel. Most of the overtime was due to contractual staffing requirements based upon our employees going to paramedic class. 58.5 hours were assigned to that. And then we had 41 hours of special assignment. We had a community, countywide disaster drill, I believe on October 17th, that we hired back for, I think, 6 or 7 employees to participate in that drill. Turning to page 13, is a graph that's just over the last course of last year. The overtime, page 14 is comparative overtime this year and last year. Page 15 is just the overtime budget for the 2025 fiscal year. We have about 64% left of overtime that we have budgeted. Any questions on overtime?
No questions, moving forward.
Okay, we'll move on to our vehicle repairs and vehicle information. For the month of October, we spent $13,616 on major repairs. Most of that was to the ambulance that we had repaired at Netherton's. We had $2,139 spent for multi-way system repairs to engine 2, and the remaining was for the maintenance work to the rest of the fleet. We still have the McHenry Township ambulance that we're waiting on. Hopefully, we'll see that in January. That's a used ambulance that we purchased for $55,000. The aerial and engine that we have ordered through Pierce, we're still on the same time frame. We won't see the engine until late 2026, and the aerial sometime in 2027. We just recently received our Tower 1 back, which was out for repairs for many, many months. We're going to see the final invoice probably next month. It is substantial. I've talked to the mayor and comptroller's office about that, and working on ways to pull that out of the budget.
Chief, what kind of, I mean to interrupt you, what kind of, we had 95,000. What was all that for?
So a majority of that, we had main bearing gear go out on the aerial platform, which is, they have to actually get a crane, lift the ladder off the vehicle, replace the gear, which is about 5 to 6 feet in diameter. It's a very costly repair, and then we had a lot of other major repairs done at the same time to keep that on the road for the next few years. We did debate, the mayor and I discussed this prior to doing all the required work and even the emergency work that needed to be done, whether or not it would be feasible financially to, expend that money to keep that vehicle on the road for 2 more years, and we just really couldn't have gone without it.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any questions about the vehicle repairs information? All right. We'll move on to our call volume, page 19 through 2021. For the month of October, we responded to 677 calls, 419 of which were medical. We're, at this point in time in the year, we're about 430 more calls for service than this time last year. If consistent, we'll be at our busiest, continue to be at our busiest year, our history. For the month, we only had one small structure fire. Damage was limited to about $5,000. It was at 233 North Illinois. It started in the backyard. We had some gas lines and issues that caused the fire, which actually extended into the house. The siding was extinguished pretty quickly. For the year, we've only had, let's see, I believe it's page 21 outlines the number of fires we've had for the year.
I want that Lincoln and Eagle.
So that was November 1st. So for the last September and October, we had one small fire. It amounted to $5,000 of damage. November 1st, at 3 o'clock in the morning, we had one major fire. November 2nd, we had one major fire. And November 3rd, we had one small fire. But we'll talk about those next month unless you have questions about it now.
I don't.
Okay. We responded to 16 calls outside of the city of Kankakee to assist other fire departments. If you turn to page 22, it's our loss for the month, and page 23 is a graph for the loss for the year. A total loss for 2024 is $472,900 for the structures, and a contents loss of $225,900. Any questions about the fire losses? Okay. EMS calls for the month of October, 419 calls, 377 actually required medical attention. Turn to page 25, it gives an outline of all the calls, majority of the EMS calls that we went on for the month. We have just a breakdown of some of the other ones, some of the major ones we went on. We had 83 sick person, 16 traffic accidents, 35 falls, 28 psychiatric problems. We had 4 gunshot stabbing, and then 7 suspected overdoses. We did turn over 15 calls to Riverside and Elite for the month to make sure our total ambulance turnover of 173. Any questions about our calls?
Chief, when you have those turnovers, is that because you're doing other things?
It's where our
You don't have
ambulance,
the manpower to handle?
so when we turn over our ambulance calls, our ambulances are on other EMS calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to billing. Page 27 is our fire billing. The month of September, we collected $3,375.81. Total for the year, $17,664.23, and that's just for our fire-related calls that we bill insurance. For EMS, page 28, our collected for September was $325,156. For the 2024 calendar year, we collected $2,931,257.03.
That's a lot.
You did say collect, right?
Collect, yeah. Yeah, we have a lot more outstanding, unfortunately. Moving on to our fire prevention, page 29 through 31, all the events that we had. October was our fire prevention month. We spent a lot of the time in the schools, kindergarten through 3rd grade, doing fire-related safety classes. And we had 142 safety inspections for our Fire Prevention Bureau, and we installed 13 smoke detectors. And I believe we installed a couple carbon monoxide detectors also. Our community risk reduction report, page 32, 30 and 33. The programs that our Lieutenant Zacco is still working on, our carbon monoxide program, which is slowly getting started. We do have carbon monoxide detectors for our residents. We haven't had a lot of requests yet, but if you know anybody that needs one, we also have smoke detectors still. We did complete ESU CPR training. Our next up is code. I believe we're scheduled for the next week sometime, I believe. And then PD's scheduled for sometime in January. And then also he's working on the Ring of Life. He got a few of them installed. He's working on some signs to replace the ones that are missing. Overdoses, we had 34 overdoses. Page 34 gives a breakdown over the overdoses for the month and year. It's a graph. For the month, we had 7 suspected with 5 requiring Narcan. We had 61 suspected overdoses in Kankakee for the calendar year 2024. 12 fatalities in the county for 2024, and 68 suspected overdoses in the county. Page 35 is our training. Breakdown for October, we spent a lot of time in the school, so we didn't do a lot of extra training for the month. We did have our citywide cybersecurity training. We participated in countywide disaster drill. We reviewed some policies. Our EMS training was our annual SMO review and update. And then we started our annual physicals. Next month's training, November's training is listed also on page, the last page of the packet. We'll be doing SCBA training, radiation training, and our EMS training for the month is aquatic emergencies. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Chief LaRoche?
Chief, you did say the COs and,
And smoke detectors.
right, because I didn't know they had went up like that. Man,
Yeah, they're a little expensive, yeah.
right, okay. And that's for every resident of,
So, right now, the program is for owner occupants, but if they're, we will install them in landlords' owned buildings, but depending on what type of building how many units they may have, and if they're replacing a hardwired system, we cannot do that. So, but we will work with the landlord, and if the unit needs one and it has tenants, then we'll install one right away.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, we have no need for an executive session. Do we have any Alderman comments tonight? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Made that motion.
Victor.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. 6:07 PM, we are adjourned. Thank you, people.
Who's that running? That's your Swanson guy.
Did I leave my check running?
I'm getting paid for all this shit.
My husband.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's your.
Yeah, he, county board.
Your husband?
Yeah, he's been a county, I think this is his third election?
Kind of a hand.
Yeah,
My kids bought me,
Yeah,
they bought me a nice Lexus.
yeah, me and him.
See you guys, thank you.
Take care.
He said he wouldn't do it. Now he just keeps going.
Oh, boy.
Tough night.
Oh,
I
man.
didn't sleep much last night.
I hear you.
Oh, man. Well,
Oh, yeah, I know.
I don't know what to say. That's, you guys-